In January 2024, an Arctic cyclone engulfed much of Europe and giant tankers carrying fuel across the Red Sea were forced to reroute to avoid Houthi attacks. This should have led to an increase in gas prices. Instead, they just kept falling. Even if Europe is still far from complete clarity on the energy question, it is a clear sign that the worst of the nightmares that sent electricity bills soaring and pushed inflation to multi-year highs is in the past. Europe is benefiting from record gas reserves in 2023 as well as increased use of renewable energy and a relatively mild winter. Sluggish economic growth also plays a role, limiting energy demand in major industrial powers such as Germany. That was enough to bolster traders' confidence that the region was stable enough to survive the rest of the winter with gas supplies. European benchmark prices are currently below €30 per megawatt-hour, around a tenth of their 2022 peak levels. However, having overcome the crisis, Europe found itself in a new reality and with a new list of problems. It now relies more on renewables and will have to deal with the discrete nature of such power generation. Due to the loss of Russian gas, on which it was overly dependent before the conflict in Ukraine, it also had to look for other sources to meet its fuel needs. This means competing for supplies of liquefied natural gas with other regions of the world. If you just look at prices, it looks like the crisis is over, said Balint Kahns, head of gas trading at Met International in Switzerland. However, we now rely on global factors that can change quickly. Prices could rise again even this heating season if there is a sudden supply cut or a prolonged period of cold weather, he said. One of the key risks is the situation in the Middle East amid Houthi attacks on ships in the Red Sea. This is the route Qatar uses to send LNG to Europe. Oil and gas tankers already avoid the area, preferring instead to sail around the southern tip of Africa. Gas prices fell nearly 60% in 2023 and fell another 12% in early 2024, which should help reduce consumers' energy bills. In the UK, the government-regulated price cap will fall by almost 14% by spring, according to consulting company Cornwall Insight. This is the second winter that Europe has gone through without Russian gas, said Kim Foutier, head of European oil and AMP markets at HSBC Holdings. And the fact that the winter of 2022 to 2023 passed without problems helps calm traders' nerves. Europe's development of renewable energy means a reduction in the share of gas in the continent's energy balance. An increase in wind turbines and solar installations has helped reduce fuel demand, which also contributed to the recovery of France's nuclear power industry last year. But there is a long road ahead with many potential obstacles. The gas transit agreement between Russia and Ukraine expires at the end of 2024 and is unlikely to be renewed, meaning the continent could receive even less gas from Russia. Despite huge global investments in LNG, most new capacity will not come on the market until 2025 and 2026. And extreme weather events are becoming more frequent, straining energy systems and sometimes increasing demand for gas. In Asia, high inventories mean that gas prices there are also currently falling and are at their lowest levels since June. LNG buyers in Japan, the world's second-largest liquefied fuel importer, are aggressively selling LNG shipments because there is too much of it. Some of these cargoes are likely to reach Europe. While there are pockets of demand, especially in India and China, these purchases are mostly made by traders looking for a good, low-cost deal. It's a similar story in the US, where gas futures fell about 20% in mid-January as inventories remain well above the 5-year average. Cold weather increased demand for electricity and froze some gas wells, but did little to boost futures prices. However, problems along two key LNG routes, the Suez Canal and the drought-stricken Panama Canal, are lengthening shipping times, exacerbating the situation. While traders don't seem too worried about all this right now, a prolonged logistics disruption could change things. Periods of instability, from strikes in the Australian LNG market to the outbreak of war between Israel and Hamas, have created price peaks, a reminder that the current calm is not necessarily going to last.